Okay, what's up everybody? It's Alex over at Boost Controlled Performance. We're back in the dyno lab. We've got the 22 behind us. And in the last video we talked about baseline numbers. And if you forgot what those numbers were, we started right around 250 wheel horsepower. I believe it was 253 and about 246 or 248 pound-feet of torque. So those were our baseline numbers off of a car that is claimed to make 271 at the crank from the factory. So our assessment of that was maybe it was a little bit underrated. Maybe our DynoJet, in your opinion, reads a little higher, but I've seen some of these baseline as high as 275 to 280 wheel horsepower. So I would say our baselines were actually pretty conservative, and they were still impressive in my opinion compared to the factory crank rating. So we talked about baseline numbers, and maybe we hinted or alluded to the fact that there would be a little tuning that comes after. And that's what this video is about today. So you've probably seen on some message boards or some forum posts, if you're still using those, that people are going out, they're getting their cars tuned, and they're making impressive power gains. So we wanted to talk about what our mapping offers in terms of power gains and just kind of go over those details a little bit. So we've got a lot of numbers here going on, and I'm just going to reference our sheet just so it's easier because we've got multiple mods and multiple fuels. But our gains on our OTS map for 93 were approximately 30 wheel horsepower and 90 pound-feet of torque. So tune only, massive difference. We saw an insane reduction in 0 to 60 time over a full second. We will cut to that video in a second here. And then on our completely stock car with E30 fuel, which is an ethanol blend, we can do E30, E40, really anywhere in that range is fine. We picked up exactly 50 wheel horsepower and 130 pound-feet of torque. So massive gains with just a tune only. Mind you, that was on a stock car, no hardware changes. So then we went and we put an ETS intake on our car. ETS is a fantastic company that we've been working with for a while. We put their intake on the car, and on 93, we were able to pick up 50 wheel horsepower. So it made 306 on 93. So the same amount of power we made on a stock car on E30, we made that with the intake on 93, and we made 340 pound-feet of torque. On E30, we made 337 wheel horsepower and 381 wheel torque. So I just want to talk about a couple things there real quick. First off, you're going to see a lot of varying torque numbers on these tunes. And the reason why is torque is very easy to make on any turbo engine. It's a matter of how hard the tuner wants to push it at lower RPM. Me personally, I don't think it's worth the risk to have this mountainous torque curve when in reality you're not really going to be using it that much. This is a still relatively small turbo, so while you can make a ton of torque, what you're going to get matching that torque curve is a kind of underwhelming power curve. And that can kind of create for a strange driving experience. The car can feel very punchy, and then it feels like it kind of runs out of steam by redline. I like a balanced torque and horsepower curve, which isn't always possible on the stock turbo, but in a nutshell, I'm not going for those moon torque numbers. We could have easily made over 400 pound-feet of torque here. Not interested in it. I think 375, 380 is more than enough. What I'm trying to give you guys is horsepower gains. What you're going to feel when you're banging gears and revving it out to redline, because that's essentially what horsepower is what's happening in the higher RPM. So I think our horsepower gains were pretty remarkable. If we went from a bone stock car to the car with the intake on E30, we're talking about over 80 wheel horsepower gains. That's with a completely stock exhaust system, stock intercooler, all that, stock fuel system. So 84 wheel horsepower and 135 pound-feet of torque. So still monstrous gains. You're definitely going to notice them. And those are the rough numbers that we'll be releasing our OTS maps at. I'm sure some of you are probably also wondering, what is an OTS map? I've seen this post on the pages. OTS stands for off the shelf, and it was kind of tuned by COBB and some other companies that offer these tunes, but essentially it's a tune that you can buy. It's usually more affordable. You can buy the tune and just flash it to your car and go. Now, to compare that to a Protune or a custom tune, the OTS map is, we send it to you and we say, hey, enjoy, have a nice day. It's usually a tiny bit more conservative, and it's a one-size-fits-all map. The mod list that we allow for the OTS map is very slim. It's either stock car or intake only. And the reason for that is we want to reduce the variables if we're going to just be sending out tunes for a set of mods and then not doing any adjustments to it. So our OTS maps are similar to what some others are offering: stock car or an intake, and then choose your fuel type, 91, 93, or an ethanol blend. So let's talk a little bit about what a Protune is, or a custom tune. Well, we're going to suggest the custom tune or the Protune when you have more mods than just an intake. This could be anything from a charge pipe that's going to adjust the way the turbo makes boost, to the intercooler, which is changing the air density, to maybe the J pipe, which is going to be changing the exhaust flow and the turbine energy. So if you have more than an intake, you are going to want to order a custom tune. When you order that custom tune, you're going to get back and forth support with us. We're going to be sending you a map and asking for a data log in return, and there's usually going to be a little bit of back and forth. You're essentially paying for more time and more care and more effort. By no means is an OTS map unsafe, and we still do include a data log review, one data log review with your OTS map, just to make sure that everything's running right. If we see something that we don't like, we'll let you know. Some of the other benefits to getting a custom Protune are the other offerings that we can include with it, such as customizing your throttle mapping. Maybe you want something a little more aggressive, maybe you want something a little bit more conservative. We can adjust how much torque the car is making. Do you want it to have more low-end torque? Do you want it to be a little bit softer on the low end so that it feels like it's making more on the high end? And you know, just those types of little adjustments that really make it a custom tune. So hopefully that helps you understand which one that you would need to choose. So lastly, I just wanted to cover, what's the difference between a COBB off-the-shelf map and one of ours. I want to be clear that COBB makes some really great off-the-shelf maps for a stock car. They're usually a little bit on the conservative side, and they do that intentionally. Our off-the-shelf maps are going to make a little bit more horsepower and a little bit more torque on the gasoline maps. They don't offer ethanol blend maps right now, so that is an advantage to going with one of our off-the-shelf maps. But a couple other things that we do to really optimize the driving experience are we do adjust the throttle mapping. We take care of some of the cruising, timing, and fueling corrections that are going to help with the car just driving and feeling a little bit smoother. We're also raising the red line on these cars. So we're not raising the red line to an unsafe level, but we're giving you a little bit more headroom above that stock 6,000 RPM red line. You're really gonna like that. I personally feel like the car feels like it's cutting out too soon at 6,000. And lastly, when you go with one of our off-the-shelf tunes or our custom tunes, remember that you're getting the support. Part of what you're paying for is our time. So any questions that you have about the car or anything that you see that you have questions about with the way it's running, we're here for you. So understand that you are getting that support, and we really do give it everything that we can. We have good feedback because we really put a lot of effort into it. So I think you're really going to appreciate that support that you get with your tune order. Another little thing that I wanted to mention is if you are thinking about running an ethanol blend tune, we strongly recommend the Fuel It Flex Sensor Kit. To be clear, this isn't a flex fuel tune, it's just a flex fuel sensor, but it has a nice Bluetooth module on it so that you can actually connect your phone to it and you can see your ethanol content live. If you get a certain kit for your heads-up display in your car for your dash, you can actually transmit images from your cell phone to your dash. So if you want to go that custom route, you can actually show ethanol on the dash. We recommend that just to make sure that you're getting the correct amount of ethanol in the car. On our E30 and E40 tunes, we recommend somewhere between E30 and E45, anywhere in that range is going to be safe. But it's a really nice kit. It installs easily. It does have that Bluetooth connectivity. So definitely check that out if you're thinking about getting a ethanol blend tune from us. So if anybody has any questions, certainly throw them in the comments. We'd love to answer them for you. We'd like to know what you guys are looking for these cars. And, you know, like and subscribe if you learned something today. Thanks for watching. I'm Alex at BCP and BCP E-Tuning. We'll be talking to you guys soon. Thanks.